Check, 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 check.
Tim Armstrong, here. Bob Sleater,
Here.
George Ballard.
Here.
Joe Williams. Here. Kick Sprudenberg. Here. Jim McDonald, not here. Phil Young here. All present except for Jim McDonald. If all would rise, and gentlemen, take your hats off to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Trust you've all had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting. Unless there's any questions or corrections, I need a motion to approve.
So,
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll make the second.
Tim seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you. We'll go right into the claims, 1 through 11. Trust you've all had a chance to look over them and the email that was sent. If there's any questions, or I need a motion to approve those.
The paving's going on right now at Toyota, right? Matt, the paving, that paving that's going on is reflected in this, right? What they're doing, right?
Yeah, it's 9 and 11.
The county road project, December 11th.
Okay. I make motion for the claims.
All right, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Bob seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, yes,
I did.
George did. And Mr. Sleater seconded. All right, there's nothing on the new business. Old business, it's gonna be, the 3 minutes, per person, discussion. And we're gonna go in order here as they signed it. So does anybody have any questions, before we get started? All right, Jeremy Overton, looks like you're first on the list here.
I'm not getting any favoritism for 20 years on the county council. I just showed up an hour early on accident, so. I'm here on behalf of the county council, and as a taxpayer as well. One of the biggest benefits to our county from our standpoint, I know you guys have talked a lot about the details of pass-throughs and capture and all the things that have come up through the analysis. I'm hopeful that we're on a path to getting a really good agreement in place that helps sustain the infrastructure, sustain the road improvements that we've been able to make in the past because of the Toyota TIF revenue. And on behalf of the council, I'm in favor of the tax increment finance district as a continued means to support those. As you know, I think we've probably had this conversation dozens of times now. That revenue, the increment that is captured is money that is kept it's extra money. When we get this incremental revenue, if it just goes on the tax rolls, we still get the same amount of money from property taxes that we were gonna get before. It's just split up in different shares. So we've built there's an animal there that has, I don't even know what the latest numbers are, probably 7,000 to 7,500 employees that are kind of an engine for regional economic growth. And we're gonna have to continue to maintain that long after the recent expiration of that TIF district. So that's why I'm in favor of moving forward with the project, continue to be responsible, and work with Toyota to get the wants and the needs lined out and take care of the things that we need to take care of. I'm gonna leave that on.
All right, thank you. Next on the list is Randy Hall.
Okay, well, you're doing Tree Drive 350 South, and repairing it on the TIF money, and all that. That's fine. But by God, there's other roads out there that needs it work just as bad, if not worse, than them two roads. They were in pretty good shape. And when you do this TIF, the only thing you are doing is you're making the tax people pay for the burden of them giving the break on the taxes that we're giving them. We have to get it somewhere, and we have to get it from us, the taxpayers in the city. That's why we're gonna have to raise wheel tax, all this. If this abatement don't go through, or tax stuff don't go through, they wouldn't have to raise the wheel tax that much, because we'd have enough income coming in, because they'd be paying for a lot of it instead of just little pieces here and there. And that's, I'm trying to make sense about it. I don't know how else to tell you about it, but that's kind of the way it is. Tulip Tree and 350 really didn't need to be paved. They could just kind of put a slim coat on that or something like that. They didn't have to do all what they're doing, because there's other roads out there that's a lot worse in the county, and you just want to keep it right local. And I can see why the city of Princeton needs this, because they need money to help fund their roads and stuff.
All right, thank you. Next on the list, Danny Leffler.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for letting me speak. So I got this tax increment financing, which is TIF districts in Indiana, divert property tax revenue generated by new development away from shared public services like schools and libraries. This loss of funds can force other entities to raise tax rates to maintain services, and districts often fail to deliver promised net economic growth. The bad news about Indiana's TIF districts generally falls into four main areas. Funding cuts for schools and libraries. When a TIF district is created, the base property value is frozen. All new taxes from rising property values go into a special TIF fund instead of going to the usual taxing units. Because schools rely heavily on property taxes, millions of dollars are diverted away from classrooms and educational services each year. Questionable economic growth. Some studies show that TIF districts do not always increase overall employment or business growth. Instead, they often just move development from one part of the city to another, changing the timing of a project rather than creating a brand new economic activity. Loss of public transparency. TIF budgets and projects can be confusing and hard to track. Critics argue this makes it difficult for everyday taxpayers to know exactly how much of their tax money is spent on private developers instead of broader public needs. Ongoing security. Because of these issues, state lawmakers continue to push for tighter rules and better state reporting requirements on how local redevelopment commissions spend these dollars. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Danny. Next on the list, Kenneth Kiesel.
I am definitely not in favor of this TIF money. Toyota does not need it, and Toyota is playing you guys, and as respectfully as I possibly can, they're just playing you guys as fools. They don't, all they have to do is apply, and you give it to them. Make them qualify. If they're going to put more employment in Gibson County, we'll have a larger tax base to have to pay the taxes to give them for their roads and whatever else they may want. But without them making them have a certain amount of employment in that plant from Gibson County that are on the tax rolls, what good is it doing Gibson County? Thank you.
Thank you.
Another thing I thought of, is there anything else besides a 25-year TIF. Is there any other time frame on that?
I would have to get with the attorney on that.
You have to get with an attorney on that.
Yep.
How's come?
I can think anything can be amended. I mean,
And that's what ought to be done. Make them apply for this every year. If not every year, at least make them apply for it every 5 years. That gives you guys the opportunity to say, well, if you're not going to increase tax revenue here, then we don't need to have all this TIF money going into your fund. Thank you.
All right, next on the list is Joe Mickle.
I strongly disagree with forming a new Toyota allocation area. Toyota has been receiving unbelievable tax incentives through TIF and tax abatements for 30 years at the expense of other taxpayers by decreasing the overall assessed value based on the base of the budget. The purpose of a TIF, I looked up Google, it was to attract industry to depressed or blighted areas. I don't think this is a depressed or blighted area. It's already very well established with most of the infrastructure already in place. As a business owner, it is generally assumed that the business is responsible for their own expansion expense. When we first heard that Toyota wanted to move to this area 30 years ago, we heard how it would save us so much on taxes. The way I see it, our taxes keep going up while Toyota keeps getting more tax breaks. It's time for Toyota to pay their share of the taxes. Please vote no into starting a new TIF area.
Thank you. Next, Larry Mickle.
For some of you guys that came in late, there's a sign-up sheet for attendance and for speaking. I've talked to Phil and whatnot, and this declaratory resolution is so dangerous and so uncertain. It's 25 years of uncertainty. The TIF district this resolution was written by Ice Miller for the Indiana Code, and they used most a biggest amount, the longest term, and the most they could possibly come up with. That is not needed, and I think we've proved that. I talked to Phil recently on a proposal for our allocation provision that expires no longer than 10 years from now. Longer than 10 years from the date of the resolution. That would be a lot more forgiving, and that'd be a lot more workable. We talked about a smooth transition for the entities so that they don't have the ups and downs in the cash flow, possibly starting with a 10-year tax abatement, starting with a 10-year 100% capture the first year, and 90, 80, 70 down to the 10th year would be 10%. And so then that would be a pass-through of starting with 0 and ended up with 100%. That would blend the revenue for all the entities and make basically a smooth pass-through. It really seems like a workable solution, and there's been a lot of people that thinks it might be a good idea. However, there's a problem with this. A resolution, the declaratory resolution 2026-1, things can be amended if it is modified. It can be amended as soon as somebody wants something different. It can be amended, and it can be changed back to a 25-year to 100% capture. So this resolution must be rescinded first. And then after it's rescinded, the declaratory resolution needs to be rescinded, and the confirmatory resolution needs to be rejected. Otherwise, the 25 years of uncertainty will still exist. So this declaratory resolution must be rescinded so that we can start anew, and so we don't have all this uncertainty in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. All right, next on the list, Jessica Kramer.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Kramer. I'm the Union Township trustee. I'm going to read portions of the letter that I sent to the Redevelopment Commission. While economic development and investment opportunities are important for our region, it is equally important that the financial burden associated with such development is distributed fairly, transparently, and responsibly among all the entities involved. At this time, there seems to be several significant unanswered questions regarding the long-term impact of this proposed TIF district on all local taxing units, particularly Union Township, Patoka Townships, and the school corporations. Major concern is a 25-year allocation period. It is an extraordinarily long commitment of diverted tax revenues. I strongly encourage consideration of a substantially shorter TIF that still allows for economic development while reducing the long-term financial impact on local government units and taxpayers. Additionally, greater transparency is needed regarding exactly what projects and infrastructure improvements are proposed to be funded through the TIF revenues. There must also be clearly defined plan addressing any potential revenue shortfalls. If projected assessed values or revenues fail to meet expectations, taxpayers and local government units deserve to know who will be financially responsible, whether additional debt obligations may be incurred, and how these essential services will continue to be funded without negatively impacting existing residents and local agencies. Another critical issue is the perimeter roads. I believe we need to figure out for sure who is able to take care of those and whether the county can truly afford to take care of those. From what I'm understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, those taxes would come from Union Township and Patoka Township. And I've heard this been referred to as many things as an economic development for the entire county. Maybe that needs to be a county thing. Maybe everyone in the county needs to pay for these roads, not just Union and Patoka Township. I also think that there is, we're expected to absorb increased service demands, infrastructure impacts, and financial burdens without representation in the decision-making process for the expenditure of these TIF funds if a TIF is created. In the event this TIF district is approved, extreme consideration should be given to appointing either the township trustee or another representative appointed by our township boards to serve as a voting member of this redevelopment commission or any governing body overseeing TIF expenditures and project approvals. If local services are being directly impacted by these decisions, then township leadership should have an active voice and voting authority regarding how these funds are being allocated and what projects are ultimately funded. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, Richard Straub.
Good evening. I'm Richard Straub from Hopstad, Indiana, And I'm like, somebody else, I'm gonna read part of this letter that I sent to all the board members back in May 11th to be exact, and asking for a response of any kind from anybody, and I got none from anybody, but this is the letter. We believe our forefathers were correct in developing taxes that benefit all people. The TIF district is benefiting only one entity. Agreed, Toyota does pay taxes, but whatever they pay, they get to spend on themselves. What other business can do this, and why are they not providing their own infrastructure? My wife and I owned a business for 34 years and never had an account or a TIF district to pay any of our infrastructure needs. Presently, we own farm ground that we have tiled, added entrances to fields by purchasing and selling culverts, and again, with no help from the county or state coffers. During the 34 years of business ownership, we made contributions to the fire departments, schools, bands, churches, and multiple nonprofits. We still paid property taxes in addition to our donations. Toyota appears to be a much more profitable company than what we own, so can you tell me why Toyota qualifies for this district and why they do not pay for their own infrastructure as other companies are required to do? Toyota's been given this tax break for 25 years with 100% beneficiary of the taxes that they pay. What other company in the county or the state gets to spend their own taxes on themselves? Thank you.
Next on the list, Phyllis Ernst.
I'm Phyllis Ernst. I am Patoka Township trustee. At this time, we are unable to recommend that Patoka Township support the proposed $74 million in projects based on the financial information we have reviewed. There appears to be a funding gap of approximately $46.3 million between the $74 million in proposed project cost and the estimated $27.7 million in TIF revenues, even assuming 100% capture of assessed valuation. How does the city of Princeton and Gibson County intend to address these $46.3 million shortfalls? Will additional local income taxes, utility rate increases, or other revenue sources be required to fund these projects? If not, which projects on the proposed list would be reduced, delayed, or eliminated to bring projected expenditures in line with projected revenue? Before we can recommend support for a proposal, we need to review a financially balanced plan in which projected revenues responsibly match projected expenditures, and the funding source for all proposed projects are clearly identified. Once such a plan is provided, we would be in a better position to evaluate whether the proposal is in the best interest of Patoka Township and its taxpayers. But at this moment, I would like to thank this council for allowing the time that you have to search, for letting people like us, review the things that we need to review to make the best decisions. And I would like to thank Larry for bringing awareness around to what this tax is all about so we can make a better decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Next on the list, Brian Henson, I believe I've got it. Hirsch? All right.
Hirsch, yeah.
Excuse me.
Is that right?
Hirsch, yes.
All right.
Sorry.
Didn't know if Henson was here.
The S and the C look like it owns.
It's German, yeah.
This is my eyesight.
All right, I'm Brian Hirsch, Fort Branch. It seemed to me like the reason, well, Jeremy was mentioning that we need another TIF would be to keep providing funding for the things that the first TIF did, namely probably the perimeter road and
and stuff like that. So I don't know if that makes sense to, we created a monster maybe that we have to keep funding. But I just want to say maybe it's time to make a compromise with maybe the years that you need or the dollars or something. But I realize Princeton's going to need some help on the sewer, but I just don't know if everybody else needs to pay for it. But I don't know what the answer is. But maybe it's time to, if we need to scratch it, like Larry said, because it's too scary, it can be amended back to 25. If we need to rescind it and then start over, but maybe a shorter term with pass through coming quicker, something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, next on the list, Chuck Lewis.
Good evening. Chuck Lewis, Gibson County Commissioner and member of the Board of Directors of the South Gibson Community and Teen Center. I want to point out that the TIF district over the past 30 years did not just take care of the Toyota Perimeter Road and utilities and other things. There have been many, many miles, including a road right out by your house, Brian, that goes past Shennyville Hill that was paved with TIF money. Many other miles in the county, if they weren't directly funded by the TIF, it freed up other county road money to allow us to pave those roads. So the TIF didn't just take care of Toyota Perimeter. It's spread well over the county. You have to look pretty hard to find a gravel road in the very near vicinity of Fort Branch. I mean, there's been a lot of gravel roads that have been paved. Like I said, not always directly because of TIF, but because of TIF was able to fund other projects. It's also been used for quality of life things. The YMCA, the gymnasium and the library in downtown Fort Branch. Patoka Township got a ladder truck and a second station, as did Fort Branch Union Township got a ladder truck and a second station. So it's way farther reaching than just what you think of the perimeter around. I think we do need to redevelop a TIF district. I don't know what the terms should be. I don't know what the pass-through should be, but I think the county does need it in one shape or form, yet to be determined. So, thank you.
Thank you, President.
One other thing. I want to voice my displeasure with the leadership of the town of Fort Branch. The city block that has the Fort Branch Union Township Public Library and the South Gibson Community and Teen Center had $10 million of TIF fund spent on that one block. There's an alley running between the two that needs paved really bad. The town of Fort Branch says they will not pave the alley because it's not a street. All they have to do is call it Library Avenue and add it to their inventory and they could pave it. Their solution has been to abandon it. So now the library owns it. The library does not get any road funding. The gym doesn't get any tax money at all. I think it's a shame that the town of Fort Branch didn't take the initiative to turn that block into the shining example for the center of Fort Branch that they had the opportunity to do. Thank you.
I'll second that. Thank you. All right, next on the list, Randy Kiesel.
Good evening to everyone, and want to also join and thank you guys for taking the time to allow public opinion. I know we're on a time crunch, but also want to welcome the new members. And thank you for the time you take away from your families to help our county be a better place to live. We truly mean that. We have to get our opinions out there, but thank you. I don't find this an issue between Toyota and Gibson County. It's Gibson County taking care of Gibson County. And I think we need to rescind this resolution because it does favor just industry, as we heard from some of the other members here. But as the tax authorities, and like Jamie said, it doesn't
increase taxes. It doesn't decrease taxes. It just allocates them to purposes that are different. And I think the quality of life in Gibson County should be our concern, especially for the citizens, not for the industries. We need industry. That's what makes our lives tick. But if we look at the past of what TIF has done, has it brought more housing into Gibson County? And if it did, what quality of housing did it bring? And we also look at some of the things that it's done to the town of Fort Branch, the city of Oakland City. These towns are struggling. And we lost a university out of Gibson County, which is a terribly sad thing. The quality of life has not been improved in Gibson County. Our tax money takes from the wealthy to help even out what the poor can't do. And I hope you guys consider that in your decisions here. I could go on about other issues, but please consider the well-being of the citizens of Gibson County and how we can better them.
Thank you, Randy. Mr. Sleater, I think you was wanting to speak.
Yeah, my name's Bob Schleter. I'm a member of the county council, and we just got appointed to this board in May. I've talked to several people on all this. I do realize that Toyota pays all their property taxes. They don't get a break on any of that. It's just, as it was mentioned, where it goes is up to them with the tips. And as a member of the county council, I am currently not for having a TIF district on this. Certainly not the way with the declaratory resolution 2026-1. I would think that something needs to be done with it. I know that Toyota has given a lot of nice things to the county. My wife and I are both members of the YMCA. It's a great place to go swim and exercise. We out to county fair all the time. I think though that if the county was taking this TIF money that is going to be new money, that it's going to be used just for what they want and helping the town of Princeton. Whereas if we don't have a TIF district, I feel like that the property taxes will go down, and that's going to free up, as I understand it, some money from that we will keep getting from the solar projects. Whereas if it goes through, the property taxes will go up, and we won't get those money for the redevelopment or the Economic Development Commission. So where I think that I don't have an answer just yet. I've looked through several of these scenarios at Baker Tilly. It seems to me that the only thing that's being done with all this, these meetings and redoing the Baker Tilly and the lawyers, the only ones that are making a lot of funds on this are people that are keep running this through the county. Whereas if we could just decide what we wanted to do, maybe let the county council spend the money the best they see fit, we were elected for that, then we wouldn't have the same expenses for a lot of the other things that's going in. So unless it gets completely rewritten somehow, I don't see how I could support it.
Thank you, Bob. Yes,
Thank you.
I'm pretty well right on board with Bob. At least in my opinion, I don't see, there's way too much uncertainty at this point to, at least in my opinion, to make a decision on something like this. And from what I've been told, there's no time limit on when we get this put in place. To be honest, at this point, I'm ready to make a motion to reject the confirmatory and rescind the declaratory.
So is that your motion?
Yep, I'll make that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
We didn't,
I need a second.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah, you've got the motion. Do I have a second?
I would second it.
Now we have discussion,
Yes.
okay? May I ask Matt a question?
Sure.
Do you know what your maximum levy growth quotient is next year with the county roads?
So our funding for roadways come from gas taxes.
Okay,
So the only funding we get for property taxes at all would be our timber bridge fund,
okay,
which can only go towards bridges, culverts.
okay,
So
that's,
the roadway fund has nothing to do with property taxes.
okay, and you're paid by who for that?
Correct.
Okay, you only get the money then for that through the, gas tax?
Correct.
And the wheel
Gas tax, there's registration fees, there's court fees that go in there some way, but none of it comes from property taxes for our road funding, no.
So if you didn't have money from this TIF district to help with those roads, where would that funding come from?
We've got what we got right now. With the gas tax suspension we just had, we're losing $600,000 in our MVH fund, which is about 10%.
Mm-hmm.
The governor's trying to backfill that somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Our funding is going down because fuel efficient vehicles are going up.
Mm-hmm.
Hybrid vehicles, electric vehicles. So our funding's continuously decreasing. While inflation, our costs are continuously going up.
And I assume oil prices affect paving costs?
Absolutely they do.
Okay. So in other words, from the county's perspective on roads and bridges, without this money, you couldn't maintain all the roads and bridges in the county?
No, we currently, with the funding we have, I've shown that we don't have enough funding right now to maintain our roads or bridges in the condition they currently are in.
Okay.
Are we actually gonna have, even with the TIF, would we have enough to completely fund all those things, even with the TIF?
I'm gonna say no, because of the extreme cost of those roads that are around Toyota. Their traffic continuously increases. We have the Tulip Tree project going now, which is half of the Furman Road project. We can't get it all done in 1 year. So next year, that's currently funded from the old TIF. The remaining roads will get completed next year. There's a, inch and a half overlay that we've done in 15 years. It's just how long it hopefully will last. And when they're 5 lanes wide, our funding is based on center line miles. So those roads, like that road out there on Tulip Tree, we get the same amount of funding for it as we get for every road in the county. And it's much higher to maintain, a 5-lane road than it is, 2-lane road somewhere else.
Can I add something to that real quick? Are you done? Okay. What I was getting at is, I'm not against having some sort of TIF. But right now, to me, we pretty well are jumped in the water and floating. We don't even know where we're swimming to. We just have so many uncertainties that, even if we do accept the TIF, where are we gonna get the rest of the money from?
May I ask a question of the township trustees?
Please.
Where are they at? There they are. They're behind taller people. Okay, you guys got your MLG, rating on your tax rates? The 6% in DLGF?
Yeah.
Okay, so that meant last year's property taxes that you levied times 6% is the maximum amount of taxes you can levy for this next year. Is that correct? Okay. If you add up yours and mine and North Gibson's and everybody else's, we're gonna come up with a certain number, right? Right now, my understanding, you tell me if I'm wrong, the TIF district sits outside that.
But the TIF district takes from the schools.
No, you're actually wrong. Let me tell you why you're.
AI just said that.
Well,
Careful.
TMA said it doesn't.
I'm sorry, Jim.
Okay, so you add all that up, that's the maximum amount of property taxes we could have next year for 2027. Is that correct? In the whole county? Okay? How much money did we get from the TIF last year? How much money did we get from the TIF last year that went into the,
Was right at 11, close to 12 million.
So in other words, property taxes will not go up 12 million next year with that 6% increase for all the entities. So in other words, we would actually be giving
a giant tax break to all the larger taxpayers, of which Toyota would be the main one.
Like Patoka Township and most places, their taxes went down once the TIF.
Because their tax base, their assessed valuation in that district,
And Baker Tilly sat there and said, yes, they can inflate your taxes.
well, it'll have a higher tax rate. And one of the things people have been complaining about more recently is not necessarily the tax rate, their assessed valuation.
Yeah.
Because people don't like it that I have to sell my house to get that money, but yet Indiana's on a market-based tax system, correct? So my home that I bought in 1986 for $180,000 is now worth $500,000. I'm paying property taxes on $500,000, not the 180 that I bought it for. That's two different problems.
I paid for a tax on mine, it was 1936, and it's appraised more value on the house than what the house is really worth.
Well, I understand that, but that's an assessment value problem from your perspective. That's not.
That's what I'm paying on my taxes.
I know that, but this board nor anybody else in this room takes care of that. That's the assessor's office. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, even if this district went away, the property taxes that the Union Township and Patoka Township next year will not change, correct? And also that 6% for the next 25 years, is that gonna change?
It won't be 6%.
It might, it's been 4%, even though.
It's been for 7 years, according to Robert Norris.
Yeah.
I talked to him last week.
Yeah, the issue's been in the last few years, our costs have been going up more than the 4% they allowed us to do it, correct? Okay, and back to schools. Schools get money from the state based on their students. If you have falling enrollment, you're gonna get less money for your education fund. Property taxes are only paying for capital projects and utilities.
Oh, Oakland City's in trouble, do you know that? Not Oakland City, but more. You know why?
Because their enrollment now is down to under 600.
And you know why?
Because people moved out. There's no industry.
There's no infrastructure there. They didn't have.
Their property tax values were built on coal mines.
Yeah.
Okay, and where are the coal mines?
Right. Coal mines only pay 2%.
I know I have no idea about coal mines. All I'm saying is
I do. I was up there at all.
the entire state of Indiana is bleeding students because we don't replace our kids. So everybody out there have more babies. Bottom line. Okay? You know, in Gibson County alone, our enrollments are probably down 1,000 kids in the last 20 years from all three school districts because people aren't having kids, and that's just the way it is. Or they have fewer kids. I know I don't know if there's any Schmitz in here, but I grew up with Schmitz that had 16 kids. You don't see that much anymore. So that's where that issue comes from. And for instance, when we talk about North Gibson being hurt by the assessed valuation, how many capital projects did North Gibson do in the last 25 years?
As many as we could accomplish with the money that we had.
Right. My point is, it didn't take any money from their teachers, nor did Toyota. They built an entirely new campus in the environment of having a TIF district.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna pay for the lift station?
I don't know much about the lift station.
I guess not.
But part of the problem I think they have is the same as almost every city and town in the country, not just Indiana. We have an aging infrastructure of water systems with increasing federal, I'll say guidance. For water quality, they have to.
100-year-old water mains.
We have to split rainwater from wastewater now. If it goes on a parking lot, it can't go in the same spot. At least that's my understanding. So water utility rates have been in my humble opinion, been skyrocketing over the years. Add that to just general utility increases, especially if you happen to be unlucky enough to be on Center Point. That's what's hurt schools more in the last several years than this TIF district has. South Gibson's assessed valuation will continue to grow over the next 25 years after taking a hit next year from last year's Senate Road Act number 1. Assuming market values of homes go up, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to point that out to the members.
Okay, I have a question. So you passed the TIF district, okay? You passed that. why can't you take a lot of that TIF district money, put it in 41, as you're going into.
It's a federal highway. State highway. It's a federal highway.
Put an access road beside. No. Well, Fort Branch takes, you can't tell me Fort Branch don't take all the.
We've used TIF, funds for the roads out there connecting and running into the.
Just right around Toyota. You don't go
Yeah,
any
but it's
further.
all the one, there's a lot of them that are out in the, country there.
TIF money has paved many roads besides just the perimeter roads throughout the county.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something right now. Toyota gave $1 million to that YMCA, and our tax dollars gave $44 million to that YMCA.
No.
It was up there. It was way over more than $1 million.
That was the administration before me, and I had nothing to do with that.
All right, well, hold on here. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can the TIF be assessed with the understanding that Toyota have more Gibson County employees? Can it be associated that the more employees they have in Gibson County, then the more TIF money they get, because the tax base is bigger?
Part of the reason that there are not more Gibson County residents working at Toyota is because we don't have housing for people to move in here.
What did Oscar MD do about housing for MD back in?
He gave employees loans.
No, he bought the houses for them. They paid him back out of their money.
That's what I just said.
No, that ain't what you said.
He,
That's
yes,
what I said.
he
Let's
funded their
buy these
mortgages.
houses, give these people a place to live. We'll have more residents in Gibson County pay more tax.
They do offer incentives for people to move here. They give people money to move here.
Sure.
It seems like, I think I'm starting to understand, so the TIF district really, instead of attracting industry, it's a way to raise more money. It seems, would that make sense?
Well, when they first started this 25 years ago or 30 years ago, I'm guessing, and I wasn't involved in that then, the county wanted to make itself attractive to do that. Probably the county was in the same boat then with roads and infrastructure. They couldn't have possibly have taxed the citizens that lived here enough money to pay for those improvements, to attract an automobile manufacturer. So what they did, and Indiana has this TIF law for I don't know how many years now, probably 30 or 40, is they structured it in such a way that they would take its tax increment. So when Toyota came down and plopped a building here on business and personal property, it got taxed. Well, the county then could, I'm not gonna use the word siphon, but they could segregate that tax money to pour it into the infrastructure to allow them to attract the building in the first place.
Yeah, and then, but it seemed like really the argument really gets down to that if we get this TIF district, the county will have more money.
The county will maintain the revenue streams it has.
It'll
Because otherwise,
get the property tax off or current tax base, and then we get the extra.
well, and since Indiana has the maximum levy growth quotient, that's their way of keeping a governor on how much property taxes can go up a year. Well, if all the taxing entities come up with $100, that right now that TIF money is not included in that, is my understanding. If that TIF district goes away, if that TIF district goes away, those tax dollars that went away, effectively lowering the taxes, not tax rate, the taxes.
Yeah, so if we went forward with the TIF project, one thing that would happen typically would be that the ground would be reassessed immediately. Now, in this case, it is already assessed, so it's not. But your taxes do not go up because a TIF is started. Now, once that TIF comes into effect, if it were 100% pass-through, or let alone, yes, it would be more tax savings than if it was 50% pass-through or no pass-through. But they do not go up strictly because Brian and I talked about this on well, I guess, on the text, but, a lot of Fort Branch, you look at the taxes and the way the farm ground was taxed, and that however many years ago, it was $1,100, and then they went to a market value that trails, and nobody really knows if that market value, it's not very accurate but your rate that you're paying, or your, sorry, your, assessed value that you're paying on fluctuates now, right? Every year when you look at it. So when you look at the rates, the rate in, Union Township went up by about 20 cents or so because of the fire district. And it went up because of capital, project at Gibson Southern. And then, or like, capital may be the wrong word, but because it wasn't.
No, it went up for the debt service to build the multipurpose building.
And then it went down exactly when the Toyota TIF came off the tax roll, and Union didn't get to see the benefit of that. In fact, your tax rate went up a little bit. Go down to Johnson Township, we saw ours go down. A fair amount of it get eaten up by what happened to Gibson. So if you go look at that property tax rate card, you can really see a lot. And the assessor gets blamed, I think, a lot of times for these property tax, like the value increases of the homes, the market value, but they're given a form, they're plugging into something that was passed down to them from the state.
From the BLGF.
So I at one point said, well, they don't really set that. They do, but they're filling in a blank. They don't just have flexibility to say, okay, your house is worth this much for that. Now, there's an appeals board that can look at that and say, hey, your house isn't worth what we thought it was, and here's why we made a mistake on that one. But is that, so there's so many different variables that come into play.
Don't even bring up acreage for farmland, because that formula, I don't think anybody can understand.
Well, it's whatever it is, what market value delayed by 2 years.
Yeah, and then they throw out highs and lows, and it goes back so long. So they're, in essence, the way it's structured currently, and maybe you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, if a farmer's having a bad year, but they had good years back here, they're gonna get socked this time.
The delay,
Yeah, it's that delay. So the increases almost always hit them on bad years, and the decreases almost get to them on good years. So there's no leveling factor.
That assessed value that you're paying on for your farm ground today is roughly double what it was in 2012. Larry, you probably know what year that was. 2012, 2013, I think is when they made the change, and it went up.
Well, if you remember right, they tried to go to a market base once, and then the first year it came out, it seemed like the number just went ballistic, didn't it? Yeah.
So, I mean, there are a lot of factors, but yes, when the tax increment finance district is there, that allows us to segregate that assessed value, to have the cash that is available there for projects at the discretion of the commissioners, and then through the TIF board to be able to do things like, a lot of the north-south, east-west roads, as Chuck pointed out. I think Matt gave me a list of precisely which ones. Toyota feeder roads, ever since when Bob Townsend was on the board back in 10, 11, 12, 13, something like that. There have been a lot of projects that have been able to be done. Sorry for being long.
And even aside from that, in my opinion, as far as raising or lowering property taxes, yes, it's a huge deal, but at the end of the day, we're looking at a potential, 74 million is what this expansion would cost us. And at 100% at 25 years, we're looking at, was it 27.7, I believe. So we're still, roughly $47 million short. That's my uncertainty with it. I'm not saying that there isn't a way to go forward with this, but not right now. I mean, to me, there's just way too many uncertainties to be able to put this into place and just say, we're gonna pull $47 million from somewhere,
Thank you. Yes,
But at the same time, I think what you're seeing on that is, this is what they expect to put in. This would be the wish list over the next 25 years. Well, those numbers won't stay the same in 25 years from now. They never survive contact with reality. The same as that 40 some odd million. I mean, part of the reason there's been such a, not windfall, but the ability to do the quality of life projects has been because Toyota's investment's been twice as much as they thought it'd be.
Yeah, yes, Mr.
Jim, I think you're Peter to pay Paul, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're robbing the taxpayers of Gibson County, the ability to get Toyota's tax money put in to the first call, the county's call. Like I said, our ancestors had this tax program that the county taxes go into the pot, and they distribute back out to the whole county, not to just an area around Toyota, or not just Toyota itself. You sound like a newsman. You're saying well, the school corporation could have done what they did without that TIF money. Well, that was money that could have went into the general coffer to begin with, that wouldn't have been under Toyota's name. You know, Toyota gets all this claim and fame for being great, doing Toyota, YMCA, Toyota Fairgrounds, Toyota this, Toyota that, but that was their tax money that never went to the county to begin with.
But what you're forgetting,
If the county would have got that money, they could have built more infrastructure in the county to provide housing and so forth and so on. But you're just gonna rob the rest of the taxpayers of the county of Toyota's taxes and then being able to use it for the whole county.
but the fallacy of that argument, I would say, would be that you're assuming Toyota would have came anyway. What the state of Indiana and what our forefathers were betting, Toyota wouldn't have come without this.
But they're here now. They're here now.
And they can go someplace else too. Well, no, wait a minute. Anybody remember Whirlpool in Evansville? How many plants did they have? How many do they have now? How many they get? No, they had 7. But how many do they have now? How about Plymouth, Chrysler? They don't? How come when I was a supplier for those folks, they moved all their plants overseas?
It wasn't that, it wasn't because of that. The reason the old businesses are out is because we take care of the new ones coming in.
No, I'll tell you why they moved.
Toyota pays less money on taxes than the UAWs and all these other plants, because I've worked at UAW, so I know what I'm talking about. UAW.
You pay less, what kind of taxes?
Huh?
What kind of taxes?
Well, okay, tax free Ford over there in Louisville, Kentucky, there's 2 plants, UAW. They paid like $78 million on taxes.
But what kind of taxes is what I'm asking?
Property taxes.
Okay, but where's that at? New York?
No, Louisville.
Okay, that's a different state.
Well, I can't help it, but that.
Well, my point is though,
Now then,
that's a different structure.
Okay, I'll go a good one. Honda, that's in Greensburg, Indiana. They don't have this stuff. They don't have no abatements. They don't do that. They don't care about it. They just pay it. Whatever it is, they just pay it. They don't ever go after it. They don't want that stuff.
How long has that plant been there?
Probably, don't hold me to it, about 22 years, maybe a little more. And they don't have that problem. The city don't have that problem.
Okay.
Now then, Subaru, there's another one. That's in Lafayette. They don't do this stuff. And so, but here we are, Toyota wants this. And I'm telling you, I've been in all these plants. And I've never seen a more disorganized plant in my whole life when I drove a semi in and out of that Toyota plant. I mean, they got 1 entrance, 2 gates right there at the main entrance, and everybody has to use the same gate to get in that plant. And when you can't do that, and there's 5,000 trucks that run in and out of that plant a day, and then you got all the employees going out the same gate, same everything, can't do it. Every place I
Okay,
ever
Randy,
drove into.
let's bring it to the end here.
I got a question if I can.
Yes.
Tim, you said, I know you were just throwing numbers out. You built your house for $128,000.
I bought it for $185.
Whatever. Your house over $500,000 and you're paying taxes on $500,000.
I'm sure I am, yes.
Same.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I live in Hofstad.
Same
and
area.
You released that our water is going to double because we got to build a new water treatment plant.
That goes back to the same issue we were talking
Toyota
about
moved
first.
in, whatever year that was, 20-some odd years ago, 30 years ago, and they paid property tax on that first building. How much more property taxes are they paying now since the buildings have almost quad in size? Now they built a new battery plant. They have a road that crosses a county road to go from the battery plant to the plant. How much more taxes do they pay now?
Well, you're valuing 2 different types of property there between business property and residential. And I don't know.
So
I know Toyota's tax bills went up every year.
have those property taxes gone up?
Yes. If you add what they pay plus what's in their TIF, That's what they're paying.
I want property tax.
Well, their property tax bills went up every single year. I mean, South Gibson,
That's why the TIF was growing and able to do more than they originally budgeted for, is
Yeah.
because the TIF captured property taxes.
Yes. If that 12 million went straight to the county, what would have that done different?
well,
Lowered your rate.
lowered your rate.
Yeah.
And that not only would it lowered your rate, it would lower the taxes. The county wouldn't get the taxes to start with because we can only do the total amount of all the taxes times 6%. That's the most property taxes we'll be allowed to collect. The other money would go away. Would you,
Here's the other thing too.
would you agree with that, trustees?
Property taxes for residential homes are capped at 1%. And we did a number of different financial plans with Baker Tilly throughout the years. And in most cases, even if there's been 100% pass through PMMI, those residential taxes in most areas they would have decreased, the rate would have, but everybody was paying lower than the rate at 1% anyway, roughly. I mean, there are different townships, I don't have it in front of me, I have to look at it in a year and a half. That makes sense? If your tax rate went from $1.15 down to $1.50, because that money from Toyota was distributed throughout the county, the AV was, instead of just being captured by the TIF district or partially captured, it still didn't lower the rate in Princeton, let's say, or in Hopstad, Johnson Township. It didn't lower the rate enough that you didn't just still pay 1%. So on residential, that was the case. On a farm, capped at 2%, you see a difference. You can see a difference. And I know the last round of projections that we looked at with Baker Tilly had some incentives, some tax decreases in there with some of the possibilities that are out there for how to go forward. Yeah, that's the case. I mean, I can show you a document that would give you a better idea on it, but the answer for you, if you live in Hopstad, for sure is it would not have made a difference on your residential taxes. Now, the pole barn that you have out back, it's not connected to your building, it might have knocked that down a little bit, but I can show it to you. You know who the biggest beneficiary of Toyota's revenue being passed through is, right? Anybody want to guess? Toyota. And then we're going to take Duke Energy, and then you start seeing the subsidiaries come in. They're the ones that are saving the most when the pass-through comes. For us, it's not. For a farmer owns 1,000 acres, it's going to hurt 100 acres, right? But for the most part, for residents, it's not.
I think what the issue with Kix is trying to get through here is that this declaratory resolution is written so poorly that it's not so much that we don't feel like it could be used, but that the reason that we're wanting to have it rescinded is to get one that is written that'd be more conducive to what the people want here, where if whatever pass-through is, the commission would have the ultimate say on how that money is spent. And I think that's what we pretty much do now anyway.
Well, that, and kind of piggybacking off what you said, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like paying property taxes any more than anyone else, but I'm not sitting here saying that we need to reject this and rescind this strictly off of the basis of property taxes. I'm not a Toyota hater. I'm not a TIF hater. I think that there is a lot of avenues that the TIF can help us out. 100% for 25 years isn't that, I don't believe. I'm just saying, as of right now, I mean, yes, we have, Toyota's wants and needs, and we can't meet all of their wants. I don't think we can even meet their needs at this point, or at least what they consider needs. I mean, I just feel like we are, at least me personally, I mean, you guys may have a totally different approach on it, but I mean, I've sat down many hours at night and brainstorming over all these numbers, these different scenarios, and I don't see a way as of right now that's been presented to me that's feasible to move forward with and try to make something work. I mean, to me, it's silly to go into it. I would much rather push it off and hope to find something that works rather than push it forward and then sit back and say, well, shoot, this still don't work.
Larry?
It's not that the taxpayers pay it's Toyota's tax base, the assessed valuation is not going in to the general tax assessment fund, so that their money helps pay the overall taxes. We're trying to use a play on word, we're paying, as a local property tax payers are paying for their infrastructure. You can't separate dollars, but whenever I think Mr. Toyota, Rick, the accountant was here a few months ago, he said that they was paying him like $14 million. Well, that money wasn't going into, that money is not going in to the assessed valuation pool for the tax rate to come down. That's how come Toyota, North Gibson had like 90% of the growth. And so their tax rate was so high. And like I said 2 months ago, when Matt Epperly was here, that Patoka Township's tax rate was overinflated 32% compared to 2026, keeping everything else equal. And I was right, because the tax rates, that's what the tax rates were showing. So that's affecting the general taxpayers, that their taxes was overinflated 32% or 30%, 35%, 20%, it don't matter. It's overinflated. And the taxpayers that have been here forever, and there's been a lot of times close to 100 people here, and they say that they're tired of that. We need to find some way to cooperate with Toyota, and they need to step up and pay for their own infrastructure. But the taxpayers are trying to say that we all pay for our own infrastructure, whether we get three-phase electric or natural gas or sewer or water, we have to pay for our own infrastructure. So why is Toyota getting a raise when they're not even asking for it?
Okay, Larry, we need to move on.
What I'm trying to say is a 25-year, 100% capture has got a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and it just needs to be started over. It wasn't started right. It just needs to be gone and start over and do it right.
Okay, I want to clarify, one thing that I said about what they paid to the TIF Toyota. Now keep in mind, that was 60%. We passed through 40% to the taxing units at that time. So that 12 million, that was just 60% of the total that they paid.
I got one question. Like the perimeter road, why do we have to spend money on that, or could we maybe fix roads in Oakland City or something? Well, who says we gotta fix that?
That's what I don't know.
It's a county inventory road,
Well,
correct?
what if there's another road needs it worse?
Which one, okay, if you're Matt, how do you measure what needs worse?
Well, I don't.
I mean, don't you measure by traffic? That road's the most traveled road in the.
And can we give it back to him? We shouldn't have never took it.
It's basically.
We weren't involved in that.
My driveway, my employees run on, I don't know, it's their employees, it's like, geez.
Mr. President, we,
Yes.
motion and second, and discussions all abound. But I do have a follow-up question for Chicks and Bob. Both of you said like lots of uncertainties with the declaratory and the confirmatory. Are there specific provisions of those resolutions that are problematic for you, that we can look specifically at those provisions and at least give that feedback to
this board, or if the board does, vote on your, motion and approve that be rejected, that at least, if, and several people have mentioned a path forward, of some sort of compromise, what does that need to look like, and how should that be drafted?
I was gonna ask them to do that, to mark it up and bring it to the August meeting.
Okay.
Obviously with specifics, not just, conjecture, so.
Yeah, I don't have it with me.
And it's a complex document, not to make light of it, and certainly you guys are newest on the board and have been digging in and putting the work in, and I appreciate that, and I want to help to understand it as well. But unfortunately, a lot of what's going around is misinformation or not entirely accurate, and then when you compound that to a complex document, it can read as very uncertain and unquestionable. We had Mr. Mickle bring up that, like, well, if we would have sunsetted, or in this proposed resolution, it should have some sort of mandatory sunsetting and reduction or increase in the pass-through over time. But as a board member on this board, he didn't advocate for increased pass-through during the final years of the last TIF. And that is in this current resolution, this board retains that authority all the way through at every point. It doesn't have to be 25 years that we're capturing anything. At any point, we can say, no, that's enough, pass it on. But right now, it looks like there's a lot of major projects before the county and other taxing entities around here that, as Mr. Armstrong has pointed out, if we dump all this assessed value into the tax base and they make the investments as they planned, those investments will not positively impact tax revenue as strongly as if the TIF is in place,
And that's,
because of the caps on growth.
and, like I'm saying, I'm not saying that we cannot come up with a compromise for a TIF. I just think there's a lot of it, and I'm kind of like Bob, I don't have it in front of me to go over certain aspects of it, but as far as I'm concerned, there's no, yes, there's goals with it, but I'm just not comfortable at this time. I haven't at least heard enough plans from other members on the board as far as, we're going to be able to allocate this money for this money for this. All I'm seeing in my eyes is we're still missing money at the end of it. If we're not able to do what we need to do, we need to step back and punt before we make these major decisions.
I would hate, though, to rescind something without legal counsel being present to tell us, one, can we? Two, does it have to take a certain percentage of our vote? Because some things like that have to be unanimous. I have no idea what the law states. So, I think it would be dangerous to do something that's illegal. Because I know, for instance, the school board,
Just a second.
the school board's not gonna do something unless they run something by legal, and that's why they pay to have legal sitting there.
Yeah.
And tonight, obviously, you couldn't be
In
here.
the minutes, and I trust everybody's had a chance to take Larry's document that he marked up. I think that would probably be a decent starting point since he's given you some leeway. Hold on a second, Larry. This gentleman back here in the back's been patient.
We talked about how this affects the schools, doesn't affect the schools. We have the president of the North Gibson School Corporation here. Just last year, the corporation was extremely excited over a bunch of new projects we were able to get. We're kicking them off now, dirt's moving. There was an event that happened that allowed us to do this without raising taxes. You know what that event was? Joe?
It's the sunsetting of the former TIF.
The old TIF district went out. We were able to now start 40 million, I think.
We're gonna aim for less than that, but up to 40 million.
We're up to 40 million, we'll borrow more than that, but $40 million this year, the exact year that the old one goes out. So you can't possibly say that the old TIF district was holding us back, wasn't holding us back on what we could do with the school.
I disagree with that.
It's out.
I disagree with that, and let me tell you why. You're benefiting now from the TIF district being put in place 30 years ago, because otherwise you wouldn't have had that incremental growth and assessed valuation to equal to what the package you wrote in the present at the end of the 25 years.
To a TIF district or not, the appraisal, capture, everything is the same.
That's not
Where
correct.
you're able to spend it.
That's not correct, because you wouldn't be able to raise the money to start with.
Wouldn't be
Your
able to
assessed
spend it.
valuation would be
The
lower.
fairgrounds is what the difference is. You're still taxing Toyota the same.
Do you know how schools borrow money?
Very well.
No, but do you know how how the determination is for the bonds?
How much they were able to pay back on bonds.
Based upon what?
How much money they take in is how much they're allowed to borrow against.
No, that's not correct.
Let's tell your TIF district, where you're allowed to pay for projects based on how much money you can borrow. Everything's borrowed that you guys spend. If you haven't spent a nickel, it's not on a bond.
I don't agree with him. I think he's missing a
Does this board pay cash for any of the projects you've done yet? All the money goes to pay back bonds. Bonds that are wrote by an attorney, bonds that are wrote by.
Bonds have been paid off for years.
Yeah, this board has actually operated on cash stuff as of late. Many of the things are cash.
12 million in the bank at this
Yeah.
point in time right now.
Yeah, but originally the start was, all right, we believe there's gonna be this kind of investment, and based upon us knowing that we'll be able to capture this sort of assessed value at this tax rate, we can sell bonds to raise large amounts of money to fund big projects at the very beginning. But once those get paid off, then there's money still coming in. And then this board has the ability to say, well, we paid off those projects and we can keep reducing that capture and increasing the pass-through, or we can maybe maintain, and what they chose to do, and its prior board, was to maintain that 60% capture, 40% pass-through, and with that 60% capture, they've been able to accomplish a lot of great things for the county, and people can discuss whether or not they agree with that tactic, but it has accomplished some great things that I don't think anybody can dispute. But a lot of that's been done cash and not bonds, past that beginning process.
Would you, as a school corporation, be able to do your $40 million worth of projects? We have another 5 years on the old district. If it was for 30 years instead of 25, it wouldn't be happening now. You're still gonna be capturing that money, and it's gonna go with another library.
I mean, we could still do it, but it would have a much bigger impact if we were trying to borrow that money, to bond that money on top of what the TIF was capturing at the time.
40 million is an exceptional investment to be making, and the reason we're able to make it without raising taxes is because the TIF district is going away. If the TIF district was still in, we're not getting that $40 million project.
I would argue that North Gibson wouldn't be doing any of that building if Toyota hadn't been here. Yes, but he's trying to say if then, I'm saying, no, it'd be then if.
So when Toyota came, was there a TIF district when they came in?
No, it was, yes, that's why they came.
Yeah. No. Roger Marr told me they came because Warwick County, Vandenberg had zoning. That's right.
Well, but still, has that building ever been there without a TIF district? That building's never been here without a TIF district. It's never been here without a TIF district.
Oh, I didn't say that, that's why I was asking.
No, that is what you said.
No, I asked.
I have a question.
Sure.
If
No one first came here, no.
we're trying to, you say that you go increment at 4%.
6%. 6% for next year, they felt generous.
If we had anticipated that for the next 25 years, if we increase it 6% every year for 25 years, wouldn't that increment be enough to take on a lot of these projects?
Our tax went up that much, but theirs had went up that much. We were able to raise more money from the current tax.
Well, they're gonna pay taxes based upon the tax rates of all the entities they pay taxes to.
Yeah.
So if our tax rates go up, whatever would be in their Union Township or Patoka, their rate would go, or their taxes, well, yes, their taxes.
The levy would go up.
Levy could go up.
So that over
That's a
30
better way of
years at
saying
4% or 6% every year, then wouldn't that increase, that would,
I don't know that it would though.
We were able to raise.
well, if the base, all that money that you're not able to collect, won't that chip into it in the next 30 years, 4% per year. I don't know how to amortize that out.
It's all gonna depend on the assessed valuation of all the property that's going in it. And another thing to take into consideration from that viewpoint is also, don't forget, the new assessed valuation for 2027 hasn't come out. And we have the phase-ins on the business personal property now, where they can depreciate everything down to zero, which used to be, it had a, I can't remember what the floor was.
30%.
And unless you have $2 million worth of assets, you don't pay anything on those assets, which not to tell people what to do, but if I was in a business, I might form a bunch of different entities that all had less than $2 million of assets.
I've got a question. 175 east is getting milled, right? Repaid. Why are taxpayers' money repaving that road when it has already been paved? And when the solar farms were putting all that in, they tore that road up. They should be paying for that road.
There was no place on 175 that people broke through with what you know, 175 would use most 275. But 175 was planned to be paved 4 years ago, I believe.
And that would probably be a question for the commissioners more so than us.
Yeah,
I'd like to make
yeah.
a comment to Tim's point about back-to-school corporations and the population dwindling, getting smaller. I think that's the reason we descended is, no matter what happens, we have less citizens in our county. Everything's gonna cost more to each individual still here. And if we spend our tax money wisely to bring in affordable housing, infrastructure that makes expansion of families easier. Jobs are a key part. Toyota came 30 years ago. They're here for those assets, for educating the children and using the assets of our county to produce. But we've got to focus on those families coming into this county, and I think we're missing that point.
Okay, Larry?
One of the things that has disappointed me the last year, actually the last year and a half, is there's been more discussion here tonight. Basically, since this TIF district started being formed or talked about, it has never been talked about. If you go back through the invoices, Baker Tilly started working on this in April of 2025, and there has not been any discussion allowed since then until tonight. Basically, there has actually been zero discussion on this statutory resolution amongst the board, let alone the public. The S14-page document should have been tore apart piece by piece and went through it, and a decision made on what was right and what was wrong, and you wouldn't have this problem today. It is so dangerous because there has not been any discussion and any approval by the board to even form this. That's what pisses me off more than anything. It was just done wrong.
Okay, well, they've got the opportunity, now. I've got a motion and I've got a second.
Well, as I said, I'm worried without having legal counsel here, so I'll vote no.
Okay, I got a motion, I got a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign?
Nay, aye, whatever.
Any more discussion is warranted, so that motion died for a lack of a majority, so. No, it's not. Still more discussion, I think, that's obviously something that, Mr. Frudenberg and Mr. Sleater have also conveyed also. So next meeting will be August the 10th at 6 o'clock. It says 7 o'clock on here, but that's not the case. It'll be at 6 o'clock right here. Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
George made it. Oh, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Oh, what discussion? Yeah.
I'd like to sit down, I don't know, obviously near as much about this stuff as you guys do. There's sometimes I can